What's going on, everybody? It's Ryan Heath with Fantasy Points here, and welcome back to Data Points. This week for Week 18, we are all in on Week 18 DFS. I am going to dive into the Fantasy Points data suite right now and show you some of the edges that I think we can extract here. What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
So starting off, we're in advanced receiving here, and I just want to highlight Brian Thomas Jr. as a play this week. Since his bye, so I've said it, since week 13, so over his last 5 games, BTJ averaging over 24 fantasy points per game, the most of any slate eligible wide receiver. Both Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are off the main slate this week. So BTJ has just been the best performing receiver that we have available to us in terms of expected fantasy points per game, behind only Malik Neighbors among wide receivers that are on this slate. Part of that is because his design target usage has been increasing. 9 design targets over the last 5 games. They've been scheming up all these kind of screens and easy touches for him lately. That's really boosted his floor as well. So yeah, BTJ just looking like an incredible value point per dollar type of play. Also, we have some schematic angles in his favor. So the Jaguars get the Colts this week. They rank top 3 in cover 3, right? As you can see right here in our coverage matrix. What does that mean for BTJ? Or actually, first, I'll even show you this. Not only have they been playing a lot of cover 3, but also a ton of cover 1, or relatively a lot of cover 1 for the Colts over the past month or so. So cover 3 and cover 1 is kind of what we're dealing with here most likely. For Brian Thomas Jr., those are his 2 best shells. The way I've done this, I haven't shown this off enough on data points probably, but you can split by coverage scheme. If you select a name here in advanced receiving, it'll just show you stats against every single coverage. And yeah, as you can see, as I was saying, cover 1 and cover 3, easily BTJ's most efficient coverage shells, 2.8 YPRR for basically both of them. Highest targets per out run for those 2 coverage shells as well. So we've got BTJ, who has been absolutely balling in a great schematic matchup against the team that just let Malik Neighbors absolutely nuke them with Drew Lock last week. Love Brian Thomas Jr. for Week 18 DFS. All right, we're going to move over here to Lad McConkey. So the Chargers are in kind of an interesting spot where if the Steelers lose, they can increase their seeding. They can get the 5 seed with a win. That would let them avoid the Ravens in the first round. I would think you would want to play CJ Stroud in the first round rather than Lamar Jackson. So if that's the case, we could expect the Chargers to go all out this week. I think Harbaugh might want to go all out regardless. That just seems like the kind of guy he is. So under the assumption that the Chargers are going to play their starters and try to win this game, Lad McConkey looks pretty amazing in DFS. So just to start off, in terms of yards per out run, first downs per out run, McConkey ranks top 7 in both of these efficiency stats. And he has for pretty much the entire season. He's been an incredibly efficient player. But the only problem all year has been, okay, we need him to get this alpha level target volume that we know he's capable of commanding. The Chargers need to throw the ball more. All of that's been happening over the last 6 weeks. Over McConkey's last 6 games, averaging 8.3 targets per game, easily leading the team, up at 19.5 DraftKings fantasy points per game. We can even split here by week and by opponent to see kind of a game log for what this has looked like. So I hit apply with my splits toggled. We can just have all of Lad's games here in a moment. So just sorting by week, you can see, okay, yeah, he has exceeded 20 DraftKings fantasy points in half of his last 6 games. We know the ceiling is there. He absolutely nuked the Patriots last week, despite the Chargers winning that game by like 40-7. So I don't think that they're going to want to take their foot off the gas against the Raiders either. That this seems like the vibe that the Chargers have going right now is they just want to blow everybody out and keep that momentum going. As far as the matchup goes, this also benefits McConkey. So we're here in schedule adjusted fantasy points per game allowed. Down here, you can see the Raiders have been very tough against outside wide receivers this year, allowing the fourth fewest schedule adjusted, but they're basically neutral against the slot. That makes them a slot funnel. Again, that just helps McConkey even more. And then I also want to say, big pass funnel, the Raiders. Every team has been succeeding by throwing the ball on them. They are the biggest pass funnel in the league by pass rate over expectation. We have seen the Chargers be a lot higher in pass rate over expectation over the past several games, over a positive 6% PRO against the Patriots last week. Justin Herbert dropping back 40 times, again, despite it being a blowout. So I think we could get the overall team pass volume we want from McConkey as well. And just as a final little poll, this isn't super relevant to DFS, maybe more to Dynasty or to redraft for next year. But you can actually here in the data suite just filter by when a wide receiver is running or aligning out wide, when they're running a route from the outside or the slot or whatever you'd like. I've gone ahead and filtered for just routes from out wide. Ladd is third in yards per route run from the outside. So just preemptively, if there is ever a narrative this offseason that Ladd is a slot only player, maybe the Chargers sign an outside wide receiver and it's like, oh man, like Ladd is just a very limited slot only type of guy, limited ceiling. I'm just ready for all these arguments, because he is literally with Puka Nacua and Nico Collins as an outside wide receiver. It's kind of absurd. Ladd is so good, guys. Do not fade him. Don't fade him on the slate this week. Don't fade him next year in any seasonal leagues. Finally, I want to move on to a little bit more of a contrarian play for the slate this week. So as far as cheap running backs go, we're going to have access to a lot of cheap running backs with good projected workloads because of all the teams we have that are either sitting starters or that have just had their entire backfield injured. I'd expect Michael Carter for the Cardinals and Will Shipley as cheap guys to draw a lot of ownership. But Ray Davis, I think, might be kind of sneaky in a similar vein. So the Bills are very likely resting their starters this week. We think Josh Allen will play the first drive probably to keep his starting streak alive. But I would not expect James Cook to see a ton of run in this one. Last time James Cook sat out of a game was week 6. These were the Bills' backfield stats from that game. You can see Ray Davis dominating carries on the ground, dominating carries inside the 10, got all 3 of them, dominating targets as well, 18 DraftKings fantasy points. Ty Johnson's role has expanded a little bit in the receiving game since this happened, but I really think we could see kind of a vintage Ray Davis performance here. Of all these kind of fringy running backs, he's the one that has shown the most this year, just on film or in general, who has actually succeeded in a spot like this before. So I really like Ray Davis as kind of a sneakier play. There's matchup reasons for it as well. The Patriots allowing the second most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to opposing running backs, as you can see here. And also schematically, Davis has generally been running most of his attempts within man gap concepts. You can see 60% of his attempts have been on man gap. That is 6th most among these running backs with a minimum of 50 carries. And the Patriots are top 5 in yards per carry allowed to opposing man gap concepts, as well as top 5 in success rate allowed to those man gap concepts. So I do think we could see an efficient day from Ray Davis. We could see him just kind of get all the volume if the Bills don't have much interest in playing James Cook or even Ty Johnson, who's become a bit more a part of their regular offense in the passing game recently. So yeah, I really like Ray Davis, and those are the 3 data points for this week. So Good luck on the Week 18 slate, guys. If you are playing in a Week 18 fantasy championship, I'm very sorry. Make sure you fix that next year. But regardless of what you need the data for, we have you covered with the Fantasy Points data suite. Again, you can go to data.fantasypoints.com to sign up for access for yourself. We have 80% off for the remainder of the season running right now. That goes through March 31st. And we also have the early bird special going at the moment. So you can get access today, and it will go through all of next season as well through March 2026 for one price. Make sure you guys check that out. And again, good luck in Week 18 with whatever it is that you have going on for fantasy football action.